Welcome back to Unreal Engine 5, Blueprint Mastery, Door Systems and Interactive Portals. Previously, we finished with our shortcut door. We created a custom event, then we played the sound, then we created a new timeline, and based on this timeline, we set the relative rotation again. And we call this event over here. Now, it's time to go a little bit deeper into this project. We're gonna open level 6 and it's time for our door that is communicating with a switch. Just some extra information before we go on. Everything that we have created are objects, and when we were creating a new blueprint, we were selecting a class. This is the class BP double door, this is the class BP one-way door, etc., etc. And the same goes for these two, not for the enumeration. The enumeration is just a variable, it's an enumeration. So why I'm talking about classes? A small definition would be that they are objects with specific properties and behavior that allows developers to create multiple instances. That would meaning that we can have two of this door, they have the same behavior, they have the same properties, and they're completely different instances of this class. Saying all this, what we have done up to now, for example, in the beginning over here, we used the class references to do something. So in the level blueprint, we used the door class over here to rotate this actor. In other examples, we didn't really call any other actor, but again, one example would be the casting that we do for the player in the collisions. We don't do casting. We did casting in the beginning here. This again requires the class. It asks for the class. Are you the BP third person character class? If you are this class, I'm getting some information out of you. What the next step needs, this door, is something we call a blueprint interface. I'm gonna right click and go to blueprint and go to blueprint interface. I'm gonna call this BI doors. Now, what is a blueprint interface? Essentially, it's a way to run functions on different classes that can implement their own code. Not exactly common, but I can call them to any class that implements them. I think it would be better to show it as an example. One more thing, it's one of the most optimal ways for blueprint communication. Like a blueprint needs to communicate with another blueprint and they don't know each other exactly. They don't know which class it's each other. Let's duplicate our locked door, our shortcut door. I'm gonna duplicate this and I'm gonna call this switch door. So now let's go back to our BI doors and open it. And as I open it, you can see it looks like a blueprint, but it has on the other side the My Blueprint tab and details. This is because we can only see one function here, the one that it created us. If I add more functions, we can see another function. And the only graph that exists in here is these functions basically, which as you can see, they don't have an execution. The execution will be created in the blueprint that will be hosting them. So I'm gonna delete this one. I'm gonna name this unlock door. Now, what we can do in here, besides naming a function, we could put inputs and outputs and say that this function runs always like this. It has always these inputs and these outputs. Let's save, compile, and let's go to our switch door, this one. So how to implement the interface over here? We're gonna go to our class settings. We're gonna go to interfaces. We're gonna press add and we're gonna search for BI doors. Now I'm gonna compile, and as you can see, a new category appeared in the My Blueprint tab, Interfaces. And if I open this, we can find the lock door. And if I double click it, we create an event for it. Now, if this had an output, it would make it a function and I would enter the function. Now, what happens when we unlock the door? Well, when we unlock the door, we do have that code somewhere here. Yeah. We will not need all this mechanic, so I'm gonna just delete this part, the shortcut lock. We need the door rattle to take the position of the shortcut door lock mechanic, which doesn't exist anymore. And we need this code. Let's cut it and paste it over here. And the material is, yes, the correct one. So, coding wise, this door is ready because when we press E, two things will happen. Or the door will be unlocked and it will open or close, or the door will be locked and it will rattle. As you can see, we are calling from nowhere this unlock door event. This is because we will call it through the other blueprint, through the switch, with using the interface call. Now, let's go create that blueprint switch. We're gonna go to Content Browser, we're gonna go to our Blueprint folder, we're gonna right click and create a new actor. I'm gonna call it BP Switch. And let's open it. Let's begin with the components. Let's add, of course, a box collision. Let's add text render. Actually, no, we do not need a text render. We need two static meshes. So I'm gonna select a static mesh and I'm gonna duplicate this. Now for the first static mesh, let's compile, save, go back to our map. Let's go to our props and let's select this one over here, which is the prop pack lever 1. Let's find it. All right, let's go back to the switch and let's apply it. Now for the second static mesh, we're gonna do the same. Go to the map, select the second one, find it, go back to the switch and add it over here. Actually, let's add an arrow because, yeah, I thought so. These are kind of pivoted wrong, so I'm gonna rotate them 90 degrees and the lever. And it's a lever, not a switch. Anyway, and also I'm gonna rotate this 90 degrees this way so it looks up because we're gonna be animating it to go down. Let's compile and save. And now we do need some functionality from the doors. So I'm gonna go to any door, doesn't really matter. I'm gonna go to double door right now. I'm gonna find begin play and I'm gonna copy this get game mode and making it a variable. And I'm gonna go back to the switch and paste it over here. And this variable, as you can see, doesn't exist. When a variable doesn't exist, it's gray. To make it exist, we can just or create a variable over here and name it, or we can just right click on it and create variable as third person game mode, and it's done. The next thing I'm gonna do is unparent this arrow from the static mesh. But that's not what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say was that I'm gonna select this, the static mesh 1, which is the lever that we're gonna turn, and in the begin play, I'm gonna bring it over here and I'm gonna get relative rotation. So I won't have to calculate anything. I'm just gonna store this variable, promote a variable, and connect it over here. So we're going to use this variable now to rotate the switch, the lever. But before we start animating, let's finish with copying the behavior we want. We also want the collision behavior, so I'm gonna get all this over here. I'm gonna control C, and I'm gonna paste them over here. See, update widget text, we need these two, so I'm gonna just create a matching function, confirm, but this function is kinda empty. But it doesn't matter because we need a different thing to do different things this time. It's not a door. So what we will basically do is create a variable, call it solved, and bring a branch over here. If we are solved, we're gonna get our third person game mode and gonna remove a widget, door widget. Well, it's a lever widget right now, but we named it door widget, doesn't matter. And if it's not solved, then we're gonna update text and type use. So the player knows that they can use the trigger. And this functionality now is copied, and we also kinda copied the update widget text at the same time. A quick reminder, what this does is that when we are overlapping with the player, we are enabling input in this blueprint, we are updating the widget, and we add it to the viewport. Or we remove it and disable input when we end overlap. I think this is enough for this one. I'm gonna see you on the next. Goodbye!